Hi, I'm Gail Sokol, and on today's show, we're going to discuss baking with oats.
Welcome to Baking Radio. Learn the art and science of baking with author, educator, and award-winning chef, Gail Sokol. Whether you've been baking your whole life or you're brand new to the world of baking and you're looking to build your confidence and learn new skills in the kitchen, you're in the right place. This is Baking Radio.
On today's show, we will discuss baking with oats. This sounds simple enough, right? But there's a catch. If you're baking oatmeal cookies, most recipes call for rolled oats or old-fashioned oats, even quick-cooking oats. But why is this? What about baking with steel-cut oats? What do you mean that oats come in steel? We got to talk about this. Let's delve a little deeper into the oatmeal pot and define some of the different types of oats. Well, first of all, what the heck is an oat? Oats are actually a cereal grain, right? Most of us know that. They're naturally gluten-free, but they can come into contact with other grains during storage, including wheat. So those of you who need to be gluten-free, beware. When oats are harvested, the husk is typically removed, and the husk is super tough, and it's indigestible, so it's usually removed by whoever is manufacturing or growing these oats. That is a good thing. The oat kernel with the husk removed is now referred to as a groat. I'm not kidding. I love saying the word groat because it's very cool. Groats. Groats are the hulled kernel of any cereal grain for that matter. So it's not just oats. And the word oats is in the word groats. Have you noticed? Isn't that cool? So groats are a whole grain. A whole grain contains the outside portion known as the bran, the germ, which helps the plant regenerate, and the endosperm, which is the innermost part of the grain. Any cereal grain that contains all three of these, bran, germ, and endosperm, is known as a whole grain. And whole grains are known to have more nutrition, right? More vitamins, more minerals. It's all good. So now let's talk about some of the different types of oats that you can purchase for a bowl of cooked cereal. First, most of us are familiar with the term rolled oats, which are also referred to as old-fashioned oats. Rolled oats or old-fashioned oats are oat groats that have gone through a process where they are steamed and then flattened. This actually softens them and gives them a softer texture, and they actually take less time to cook. So what are instant oats? Instant oats are even more processed than rolled oats and are thought to be less good for the blood sugar than rolled or old-fashioned oats. Instant oats are not typically used in most baking recipes. The last type of oats I want to bring up is steel-cut oats. They are also known as Irish oats. They too are groats of the oat plant and are first toasted and then chopped into fine little pieces with, you got it, steel blades. That's why they're called steel cut. They tend to be quite chewy and they take longer to cook because they are less processed. So there you have the skinny on groats and oats. So why on earth am I talking you through this short oatmeal journey? Because everything I do usually revolves around baking. And I wanted to see if I could bake with all of these type of oats. Turns out you can, but steel-cut oats are a bit sticky to deal with, pun intended. So I went on an oatmeal cookie bender and I baked all different types of oatmeal cookies using different types of oats. First, I made the traditional rolled oat or old-fashioned oat cookies, and they were perfect. They were delicious. They had just the right amount of chew, and yet your teeth were not sore after you got done swallowing. Then I made more oatmeal cookies using steel-cut oats. Wow, what a difference in the final cookies. Holy cow, the steel-cut cookies had quite the chew to them. Not a favorite for my family. I heard a few words that were very negative that I will not repeat for you. Remember, this is just my opinion, so if you like baking oatmeal cookies with steel-cut oats, have at it. So this time, I wasn't deterred. I tried to lessen the chew. I first cooked the steel-cut oats, let them cool, and then I added them to my cookie batter. They spread out quite a bit, but remained very cake-like. Eating one warm from the oven, it was almost creamy and tasted a bit like a bowl of oatmeal in a cookie. It was warm, a bit chewy, soft, and creamy in the texture. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I was actually liking a steel-cut oatmeal cookie. But now I thought I would like to thicken the batter a bit so it wouldn't spread as much. So I added a small amount of flour, and it did the trick. However, I didn't get that creamy consistency and that wonderful texture that I so loved in the first batch. The thickened cookies were harder, and they even had less flavor. So after all of my oatmeal cooking baking and my family's pleas to please stop, I learned something, and I thought it was quite worthwhile. Cookie eaters, like we all are, have different preferences for what cookie characteristics we prefer. My personal preference is to bake oatmeal cookies with rolled or old-fashioned oats. Period. End of story. That's my favorite. And eat your steel-cut oats for breakfast and have your chew. So if you want to try baking with steel-cut oats, increase your baking time by about 10 minutes or so. You may need a few more minutes beyond that. And you don't have to cook them first. You can actually use the full amount of oats and substitute steel cut and see how they come out. Or you could also try a small portion of steel cut oats and the remainder rolled or old-fashioned oats. That way you can try your family out and see which they like, the slight chew, and then you can sort of up that steel cut oat mixture a little bit more as you get braver. And if you want to decrease the texture that comes with any type of oats in baking, you can easily grind them up in the food processor after measuring. So there you have the scoop on oats. I do hope that I have not baked all these oatmeal cookies in vain and that you will be brave and try baking with oats. On my next show, we'll be talking about soaking syrups. Thanks so much for listening. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, my YouTube channel, and my website, chefgailsokol.com.